I mean, if you're a Bears fan, you're thinking forward progress. Come on.
10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abaticola on 312 Sports.
We give you Forward Progress, and we give it to you on 312 Sports. Bernstein, Abaticola, and getting ready for championship weekend. I don't know where you are on this, but there are some who prefer this to Super Bowl weekend because you get twice the high-quality, important football without all of the everything else. And
well, how do you feel about it?
It doesn't really change for me because I don't do a lot of the everything else with the Super Bowl. I turn on the TV a little before kickoff, and I try to distract myself throughout the day. But, yeah, I don't mind two big football games. I wish Jarrett Stidham weren't starting one of them. You know, I'd feel a whole lot better if one of the teams involved had its actual quarterback, and that kind of sucks. And the fact that Zach Charbonnet's hurt now, too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm more excited about the Super Bowl, and that's more of a thing
That's a
in
holiday.
our house. Yeah, and but yeah, of course I'll watch these two games as best as I can because I only have I think there's like 6 or 8 basketball games in our house on Saturday. So and then there's another.
How do you even do it? Do you have to
there's
like
another 7
hire-
on Sunday.
Do you need to bring in outside help to usher these your children or get them where they need to be? I would think you need some sort of service perhaps to do all this for you.
No, there's no service. It's my wife and myself.
How many are you coaching?
I don't coach basketball.
None of them. Okay.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I've given up on basketball and baseball. I just focus on football now. But on Saturday, what do we have? There's a baseball practice. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games on Saturday and a practice. On Sunday, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games on Sunday.
All right. Well, you're going to find a way to watch both of these football games.
I will,
They should
yes.
be interesting and exciting, and I am not going to spend my time lamenting the Bears' absence. I'm not going to say, boy, I wish the Bears were here. I'm a little sad that we don't have more Bears football to watch this year. I am, because it was just looking forward to it was great. The anticipation of Bears games, not having the excitement now, not thinking, ooh, the Bears game is coming. I missed that a little bit, but no, I'm ready for some really good football.
No, I'm done being sad about it. I think I've crossed that threshold now where I've accepted it. I've moved on. I'm still disappointed because I think that they gave that game away and left a ton of opportunity on the field with points to be scored. And I think, having gone watch it again, I think they could have comfortably won that game against the Rams, which just makes it harder and more disappointing. But I'm done being sad. I do miss the anticipation and excitement because I was looking forward to Bears games all week. And that hasn't happened for me in quite some time where it could be a Monday or a Tuesday and I was already thinking about Saturday or Sunday's game. And I haven't had that in a long time where in the past couple of years, it was just you wake up and it's like, oh, there's a Bears game today. Like, what am I doing? Am I going to be home to watch it? Yeah, I will. I'll be home to watch it. Where now it was like multiple days of anticipation and excitement. So, yeah, that is still sad. I'm done being angry about it. I'm still a little disappointed. But, yeah, I'll look forward to watching whatever I can of these games heading into the Super Bowl. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is the move that Ben Johnson made of shifting Joe Thuney over to left tackle and having some time now of the actual game being done to kind of think through and process all that, because it came up relatively, there wasn't a long period of time to think about it. And now having watched it again and thinking through it, I wonder how the Thuney move impacted Drew Dahlman, who had one of his worst games of the season. So I wonder how did the Thuney move impact Drew Dahlman? Because his bad game wasn't
great question.
Right. So his bad game wasn't about snaps. His bad game was about blocking, and that their blocking scheme was completely thrown off between the tackles to run successfully up the middle to the Rams' defensive front. How did Joe Thuney moving over a slot impact Dahlman by having Jordan McFadden next to him?
That is a really interesting and observant question to ask, because as much as we're crediting Jordan McFadden, and as much as we're saying, hey, we didn't know who this guy was, and what a big ask of a practice squad guard to come in this moment and be competent and to do what he could do, how much of that were the guys on either side of him? How much of that was also, and not taking away any agency. I'm not trying to deny him proper credit, but what was the heat loss for somebody like Dahlman, who now had larger concerns about making sure everybody was aligned, making sure they knew which way the protections were sliding, and it's all a center's job. But when he have to cover for him? Did he have to cover
for him? And also, how much of an impact was there when Thuney and Dahlman would double team and then Thuney would drop off or Dahlman would drop off? How much of that was taken away because they couldn't ask McFadden to do, hey, you need to double here and then step off to your left and take this, or go left and then double. How much of that was impacted in what they normally do?
And only they or their positional coach Dan Rochar could answer that.
Correct.
Right now. But those are really good questions to ask, and all credit to you, but I wish I had thought of that.
And here's why I think about
I thought more about it. Yeah.
Because I started to think, what happened to Theo Benedet? Why was Theo Benedet allowed to get into the game, get a snap, and he actually have a pass thrown to him? Why was he not allowed to play left tackle? And I know Ben Johnson said, well, I like to move to Thuney over there, and he's done it before, which he has for the Chiefs last year. And the defensive pressure that they were going to bring from their defensive line, it necessitated Thuney moving over. But Theo Benedet was a guy that you counted on in the season to play. And I wanted to go back through, and I wanted to specifically look at two games, the Browns game and the Raiders game. The Browns game, Benedet didn't play at all. Ozzie Trapillo played 100% of the snaps on the O-line. But Theo Benedet was the starter in the Raiders game. And Ozzie Trapillo came in when Braxton Jones got hurt. And Trapillo had about 60% of the snaps. But Theo Benedet was right tackle, and then left tackle for 100% of the snaps. He was good enough to play in a game that featured one of the most ferocious edge rushers in the game today. Why was he not good enough? What happened that said it's better to move Joe Thuney and maybe compromise what we do on the interior of our line instead of having Theo Benedet play left tackle?
Well, my first guess, and this is just trying to really think it through and answer your question honestly, it may be because everything that they do is predicated on motions, shifts, formations, right? Mm-hmm. It may be once they got their game plan, once they had their idea of how they were going to game plan, that the tight end and or H-back help was going to be different somehow. That maybe they said, boy, this is going to be the left tackle and just the left tackle, that we need to get people in patterns. We can't afford to have this, and this helping with Jared Verse or helping with this guy, or the fact that they move enough people around, and they just figured they needed an individual who could be more responsible for his own guy, his own space without help. I'm just kind of spitballing.
No, and I don't. I think that's a solid answer to it. And I think Jordan Verse maybe had Jared Verse, that had one play that I can think of where he really beat Joe Thuney at the left tackle side. I can't really think of anything else. But I wonder how much of the game plan or the run scheme was compromised in that move. And you had a guy who played, a guy that you counted on in snaps to win football games in the regular season, who all of a sudden wasn't good enough to play at left tackle. But yet a guy that hadn't taken any snaps was deemed better and a better option to play left guard and move your all-pro left guard out to left tackle. So I want to know what happened when all season long, Dan, on the defensive side of the unit, what was good enough for the defense was next man up. Next man up.
It also breaks the cardinal rule that the coaches have long said, don't make two moves when one will suffice.
Correct.
Don't make two when one will suffice. And especially on the offensive line, it also flies in the face of conventional wisdom about the teamwork of an offensive line and how long it takes, especially with the lack of full padded practice time, of why it takes offensive lines longer to get better because of muscle memory and
knowing the guy next to you
and the dance steps of working and knowing that guy next to you. So something significant had to happen, I think, for them to do something like that, or they had to foresee something in their game plan or something. Why? Well, maybe they say Benedet can't handle this. We trust that Thuney can handle it well enough.
Yeah, and if that's the case, that's pretty significant. That's pretty significant that you could trust a guy to go 100% of the snaps in the Raiders game against one of the best in the game. And I know it's a different defensive front, Raiders and Rams. I understand that. And again, this isn't some kind of shot or dig at Jordan McFadden, who I think acquitted himself really well and had a good game for being put in that situation. The Bears didn't lose the game because of Jordan McFadden. I just wonder, in breaking the continuity of that interior line, how that impacted their ability to run and their game plan and their scheming and even the play calling of Ben Johnson, which I don't think was very good all game.
And it also throws this into focus because of the difficulty that they had on short yardage and the difficulty they had in between the tackles, and the number of times where when they'd pull a side of the line and they chase the play down from the back,
from behind, from the backside. Yes,
there wasn't enough of an internal seal when they would try to double team. These are all really good and actually fairly technical questions that would deserve sitting down with somebody and a laser pointer and a screen of saying, here's why we had to do this. Because look at what they're doing on the defense. And Benedet couldn't handle this quite as well. Or they might say they don't pressure a guard the same way they pressure a tackle.
Exactly. And maybe, yeah. And again, and this isn't some kind of indictment against the coaching staff, against the O-line coach, against Ben Johnson. I just want to understand, because it goes contrary to everything they've done so far this year leading up to that game. What could have been, which ended up being the final game of your season. And why it was more beneficial to the team to break that continuity of the interior line than it was to put Theo Benedet out of the position that he played before and was asked to play and had played there successfully throughout the season for you when needed. And again, that whole next man up mentality, why impact two positions when the next guy up was there and was good enough and healthy enough and active to go out and get the pass thrown to him as well.
Yep. I will never understand that.
No, I never will.
You cannot give me an explanation of that I'm going to buy.
The fact that unless it was some kind of goal line play up by 3 touchdowns, the fact that he was an option on a passing route was insane to me.
Where there were defenders around him waiting to pounce as the ball bounced off his hands. I mean, that was it. That could have been the season right there. And maybe
Correct.
That's just a brain fart by everybody involved. But whatever it was, don't do it again.
All right, so I just wanted to talk through that and ask that.
That's
because
good.
It's just been on my brain for the last couple of days.
It's a nice catch. It's something because of everything else that was going on. And we're like, oh, this is happening, I guess. Brad Biggs had the late scoop the night before.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's, as we understood, it became reality. And here it is. Here's this guy, and here's the inactives. So like, oh, shit, I guess this is what's happening. And it never, maybe wasn't the time or the place to drill down on it, but I don't know when we can actually get that time next. But
because it was just, Ben Johnson said that Thuney has done this before, and that was just the reason, and which he has. But that was what was given, and that's what we accepted. And now with a couple of days to breathe through it, it's like I really want to understand more. Because it doesn't make sense to me when you have used Theo Benedet and he started and he's played. Mm-hmm. Why wasn't it good enough at that point? Why disrupt two positions and bring a guy who hadn't taken any snaps as opposed to a guy who actually had taken snaps?
It's a great question, and we'll leave that as an open concern.
All right, a couple of things I want to point out because we looked at next gen stats throughout the course of the season, and there were two guys on the Bears that actually landed number one in two different categories. The longest tackle of the season belonged to Jaquan Brisker.
Longest
tackle. He went 95 yards in week 2 against the Lions to make a tackle.
Okay, the longest distance traveled to make
Correct.
a tackle. Okay.
So Jaquan, number one, and also the only sack recorded this year under 2 seconds.
The only sack recorded under 2 seconds
Was a Bear.
Was it Booker?
And it was
Gordon?
Sunday. It was Sunday.
Really?
Dominique Robinson. Dom Rob's move up the middle was 1.9 seconds, was the fastest sack of the season. The next closest was 2.09. The only sack under 2 seconds. So you had two Chicago Bears that finish number one in a next-gen stat category.
I think they're not necessarily meaningful.
No, they're not, but it's fun. I always looked at the stats. Yeah, I always look at that category on NFL.com.
1.9 seconds. Yeah, because there was really no move. He didn't set anything up. There wasn't a hand fight. He just
went through the gap and tackled him, landed on top of him. I love when he came up, too, and he had the grass in his face mask.
Speaking of which, did you see that video about the Seattle Seahawks and the sack?
Oh, yeah, no, you sent that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was really, really cool.
Wasn't that, talking about Gray Zabel?
Yeah.
And just watching offense and defense work together and have an offensive lineman say to a pass rusher, instead of getting hung up in why don't you go under? And if they're going to make that move, you shoot the under gap.
Exploit the gap, yeah.
Okay. And then the very next opportunity gets the guy, comes immediately over to the sidelines, like, hey, thanks.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Showing me that. It was really cool. Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right, then one other thing I want to look at. I looked at Caleb Williams' completions, because we talked about it all year, and the expected completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So Caleb Williams' completion percentage finished at 58.1. His expected completion percentage was 65. And we know that the Bears had the most drops of any team in the league.
And that they throw it down the field a lot.
Yes. But it was the biggest differential from expected completion to completion at negative 6.9. The largest, most positive differential in the NFL was Drake May for the Patriots. His completion percentage finished at 72%. His expected completion percentage, Dan, was 62.8.
Wow.
A differential of 9.1.
Now, these are not necessarily sustainable season to season.
Correct.
It takes time to look at a body of work. I don't know that you want to be you don't want to ask your quarterback. Remember, in Ben Johnson's world, he's scheming people open.
Correct.
So if things are
that's
going,
the goal at least.
Right. The goal is that there's no question to whom the ball should be thrown. It's all a matter of how quickly it's recognized and the ball gets out. That's what he's looking at more than trying to say, did you make something out of less than it was? And it's too much to ask a quarterback every season to do what Drake May did this year. It's just that's not fair to him.
No, you're not wrong on that too. But I just thought that was interesting. Largest differential of 9.1 for Drake May.
Wow.
Largest negative differential in the NFL was Caleb Williams at negative 6.9.
Well, so think about that. Like, that's a good sign then. Mm-hmm. Like, you can interpret it, sure, that if he did this well and they had this season.
And this offensive output.
Yes, and this level of scoring with that much room to improve.
Correct.
That's a great sign. And what Caleb said immediately after when asked, what do you need to work on next year? He said, my feet and my accuracy.
Yes.
Do you remember how much time we spent on this show, here on Forward Progress, trying to explain why Caleb Williams why it's okay to ask for him to be more accurate?
Right, and people got so offended and angry about it.
Yes. Oh, my God, the response. He said it.
Yes.
He just said, I got to be more accurate. All right, can we put that to bed now?
I hope so, because and what we criticized and talked about, Not every pass, because people will say, well, people drop passes. We weren't talking about those. It was very specific. Clean pocket, firm foundation, open receiver.
On time.
He missed too many of those.
Yep.
That was the problem. He knows it. His coach knows it. What are you going to work on for 2026? My footwork and my accuracy. Thank you, Caleb. Yes.
Yeah, that's not you. That's not me. That's Caleb Williams saying that.
Right. All right. There's a guy here, and I know it's premature as we're going into the championship weekend. There's a guy that I've seen on multiple websites as a potential free agent target for the Bears.
All right.
Are you familiar with the defensive end from Denver, John Franklin Myers?
John Franklin Myers. That also sounds like the dean of a business school.
Him and Truman Pauly can start a firm together.
Right. No, what I say, Truman Pauly was somebody on the Federal Reserve. He's a Fed governor.
Yeah.
Who gives a speech at the St. Louis Economic Club. John Franklin Myers. All right, there he is, 29 years old. Denver Broncos.
Fourth round pick from the Rams in 2018.
6'4", 288.
Yep. Finished with 7 sacks last year, 7.5 this year for the Denver Broncos. He was traded to the Broncos for a 6th round pick from, I believe, the Jets after being drafted by the Rams. But he's a guy that I've seen on a couple different places now mentioning as a potential fit and where the Bears may be a suitor for John Franklin Myers as a defensive end. I only bring it up only because there's a game this weekend to watch. He's number 98. As you're watching the Broncos game, Broncos and Patriots, just keep an eye out and see what you think of John Franklin Myers, number 98 on the Broncos defensive line.
All right. Well, we'll do that. His sack numbers are modest.
Yeah, they're modest.
He has 34 in a 7-year career. He had 7.5 the regular season this year, 7 last year. And obviously his numbers might be buoyed by being part of a terrific defensive line but what I love about him is from 2021 when he was age 25, 16 starts, 17, 16, 15. That
durability factor.
Are impressive numbers.
Yep, absolutely. So just as you watch the game this weekend, keep an eye on number 98. Keep a watch on how he plays. A couple other coaching tidbits for the Bears. The Bears are bringing in Will Lawing, Lawing. He is or was the offensive coordinator for Boston College and has familiarity and a friendship relationship with Ben Johnson from the days at North Carolina. They didn't say what his role will be for the Bears, though. We know that there will be an open running backs coaching role, but we don't know where he fits into the whole game plan.
He's never been a running backs coach. He has coached tight ends. He has been an offensive assistant. He's been a grad assistant, defensive quality control. So if the only specific position with which he has listed experience is tight ends. Doesn't mean he couldn't coach running backs, but he was a walk-on wide receiver at North Carolina when Ben Johnson was there. So, okay, Will Lawing.
From Boston College. And then I saw 2 other names in a couple different spots about, keep an eye on possibility to replace Eric Bieniemy. Former running backs, Deuce Staley, who is currently the running backs coach for Cleveland, and Darren Sproles, who is a personnel consultant for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I've seen their names come up a couple different spots from websites and stuff.
We're going to have a problem if they add Deuce Staley.
Why?
Because of Staley, the Bear.
Oh, I thought that was a good fit.
I don't know. No, see, I'm worried that Staley is going to feel like he's not the only Staley, and then it's going to be like Highlander.
Oh, no, I liked it. And you could put them out together on like promotional events and just combine their name, Deuce Staley, the Bear.
They're going to have some battle to the death because you've got Staley and then you've got Deuce Staley, and somehow the universe can't support 2 of them both being Chicago Bears. I don't know. I don't know. We shall see. But
Oh,
yeah,
you don't like it?
It's fine. I'm not gonna pretend that I have a strong feeling.
Yeah. Oh no.
about
I just
running
again,
backs coach.
It's only because again I've seen their names. I've seen their names come up in different spots. So when you start seeing the same name come up from different individuals and different websites and whatnot, it's just something to keep an eye on. And I know we wanted to go around the NFL as well too with some coaching hires that are being made. Let's start in Los Angeles with the Chargers and a move that I think we were both impressed with that Jim Harbaugh made in naming and bringing in McDaniel. Mike McDaniel.
I'll
as
tell you why
an
I
offensive
like
coordinator.
There's a lot that I like about this, and I'm a fan of Jim Harbaugh generally, even though I think he's crackers.
I agree. I love Jim Harbaugh.
I love the guy, but he's a strange man. He's wired in just very different ways. But in a league where a lot of coaches have a very difficult time asking the question, what don't I know and where do I need help, rather than bringing in people to bolster an already set vision and people to validate things that a coach believes to be true. This hire, I think, shows humility. I think especially when coupled with the firing of Greg Roman. Harbaugh's never been in the NFL without Greg Roman running his offense. Mm-hmm. And I mean, ever. That's his guy. They are joined at the hip. And that's
how the Harbaugh boys operate.
That's his offensive guy. And even though Harbaugh is an offensive mind, at least you know what side of the ball he's on. And when they're calling plays or he's saying, I want to run it here, I want to pass it here, whatever his level of involvement is, that's because Greg Roman is putting the game plan together in large part. Not anymore. And for him to do this and say, Mike McDaniel, you're the guy in large part that created these the Ben Johnson kinds of things and the McVay things that people credit Mike McDaniel. I want to say even Kyle Shanahan has said he's stolen stuff from Mike McDaniel when it comes to of formations and compressed formations and motions and orbit motions and everything else that's used. For Harbaugh to say, bring me up to speed. We need to do things that these other teams are doing because I've got some raw material here in this quarterback that can be a lot more than he's been, particularly in the playoffs. Mike, what don't I know? What can you help me with? I think it's a really good hire.
Yeah, I think it is a great hire, and hopefully they can do something to fix that offensive line because that's where their issues begin and really end as far as offensively speaking. But yeah, so they make the hire of Mike McDaniel as OC. Let's move on to the other Harbaugh brother who had his introductory press conference as the new head coach of the New York Football Giants. And I don't know how it's going to work. I don't like some of the things I heard within their power structure and the hierarchy. Yes, we've given John Harbaugh all this power within personnel and decisions, but it doesn't end with him. It's going to be a collaboration between John Harbaugh, the general manager, and ownership. But he's going to be, and this is what they said, he's going to be a very important cog in the wheel. Maybe the most important cog in the wheel. I don't like that at all, especially with ownership being involved. Why is ownership involved in personnel, in coaching, in player decisions? You don't need to have a collaboration of ownership, general manager, and head coach. I just don't know how that's going to work. Now, he doesn't strike me as a significantly driven ego kind of guy that can be real abrasive or off-putting to those around him, but he wants to be in charge, and he went there to be in charge.
Then say he's in charge.
Right. I don't like this whole idea, this collaboration, especially when you include the ownership to it.
It reminds me of Ryan Pace. This reminds me of all of the difficulty we had pinning down responsibility for decision-making on the Ryan Pace Bears. And it made me want to tear my hair out because we couldn't figure out who would get credit, who would get blame. You can't do this there. This is the quote. Let me read this. This is Harbaugh talking about how he's going to work with Joe Shane. to me, it's really not that important to the big picture and the big scheme of things. I think it's kind of overblown in terms of how it works. The main thing is that it works. And he said that we have, and that we work together. It's kind of what I was used to. It felt like a good way to start off. I think we're all going to work together. I promise you, we all report to the boss and the boss's ownership. Not good enough.
Yeah,
That is not good enough. And there's no way that the assembled New York Giants beat is going to allow this to stand and be able to work it, because you're asking for trouble internally and externally when people do not know who is in charge and who ultimately has authority. Wait till draft day. Wait till draft day.
Right.
You know,
is Chris Mara going to have some input on who they draft?
I mean, the Bears have at least been honest about it, and we know that, and Ryan Poles has said that Ben Johnson has a strong influence, but it's still Ryan Poles' pick. It's still his draft.
Yeah, I don't know. Just hearing that stuff, and because I don't have some kind of personal or emotional connection to it, I don't care if it works out or not. I just don't think it's going to in that kind of form. When I heard that was a lot of red flags, and I said to you earlier, my spidey sense went off that doesn't work. Because ultimately, it's not going to work in that big market either.
And it's been Chris Mara more than John Mara who's been the active owner. So you can't just say the owner. To whom are you talking?
Well, yeah, with John being sick, and Chris has taken more of a forefront as far as the ownership's concerned, and he was a big reason that John Harbaugh was hired. Like it started weeks ago. Apparently, a relationship that was introduced by Tom Coughlin and Chris Mara, and they went out and had lunch together, and that's where it all started. But man, if I'm John Harbaugh, I'm not going there to collaborate with the GM and the owner.
You don't have to. You don't have to. And when you want to know how these things can really go wrong, when you just look across town and look at what we were talking about with the Jets, where Woody Johnson all of a sudden gets these whims that come from his 18-year-old grandsons.
Stick and brick.
Brick and chick, and you find out that you're working for children. And that's how sometimes these bizarre billionaires, they're all weird and they do weird things. And if Chris Mara is going to be officiating and refereeing between his general manager and his head coach, you're already setting this thing up to be confusing and untenable.
Yeah, no, I agree. A couple other minor notes before I get into something a little bit bigger. Danny Smith, are you familiar with that name? He was the special teams coach for Pittsburgh.
Oh, the old guy.
The old guy. Yeah, that's the only reason why I brought it up. So,
guy.
So he's going to be the special teams coordinator at Tampa Bay. He took that job. He's 72.
Yeah.
So it's funny you called him the old guy.
No, because he looks like the guy in the country club who's playing gin. Everybody else is out golfing, and he's sitting in the clubhouse, and he just wants to play gin.
The social experience, yeah, for sure.
That's what he looks like, yeah. Smith, okay.
Okay, David, B-L-O-U-G-H.
David Blau.
I want to say Blow. Blau?
Blau. He started a game against the Bears. He was a Lions backup quarterback.
Correct.
Remember? It was one of the years where the Bears were facing nothing but backups. David Blau. Yes,
yeah, so he's the new offensive coordinator in Washington.
Cool.
After one season as the assistant quarterbacks coach.
Perfect job for him.
Yes. And then two other things.
Never thought I'd hear that name ever again.
Right, David Blau.
David Blau.
I think from what I've been reading too and just looking around, the Steelers, I think the Steelers' next head coach is going to be Chris Shula of the Rams. That's where I think they land.
Okay, because he defensive.
Young
and defensive.
Yeah.
Those would be boxes to check. Oh, by the way, David Blau, starting quarterback for the Lions, Thanksgiving Day against the Bears in 2019.
Okay.
It was his first NFL start, 22 for 38, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, and the Lions lost 24-20.
Ooh, David Bell, but he still got the job. So I think Chris Shula is going to end up in Pittsburgh. That's just my feeling. And then one last thing around the NFL. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago when it was announced that Troy Aikman would be serving as a special consultant to Stephen Ross in Miami.
Yeah.
And now Miami makes their hire, and they hire John Eric Sullivan as their new general manager and Jeff Hafley as their new head coach, both, of course, coming from Green Bay. And looking up Sullivan has been there since 2003 in various personnel roles. So that's a long time, 22 years to be there. Gets the GM job in Miami. Jeff Hafley goes from defense coordinator. And I wanted to go back through and look at the number of games that Troy Aikman and Joe Buck did for the Packers. And the one specific game against the Bears where he was singing the praises of Jeff Hafley and telling Packers fans, hey, you're gonna miss this guy when he's gone because I'm pretty sure he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere. I wonder what kind of impact Troy Aikman had in that, because we heard him talk shit about Mike McDaniel in Miami, saying, I have no idea what this fourth quarter would even – remember how bad that was right before Mike McDaniel got fired.
I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what they're doing, yes.
And then he gets hired as a consultant, sings the praises of Jeff Hafley. Yeah, it's – at first when you brought it up, I was like, yeah, whatever. But now as I think back through it and I see the hirings they made, and if that really is something the NFL wants. Well,
the NFL has no choice because especially now.
Well, with Tom Brady being a commentator and an owner.
Even beyond that because owners are owners, and I know this sounds simplistic, and you don't want this to be true, but when they make a decision, when the director of a broadcast, regardless of who is doing the game, regardless of who the on-air broadcasters are, when the director has in his notes, we are going to have multiple cutaways and name and show the coordinators. We are going to say who they are. Those are the star makers. The way names get talked about is by the directors and the producers of the broadcast deciding. And in the playoffs, it's always there. We see some of it, and you know who the people are. You know who the telegenic guys are. The only reason I can tell you who Danny Smith is was because you would see him after a big play clapping his hands and running down the field. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's the old Steeler guy. It looks like somebody's dad.
Guy. Yeah,
the old guy, because you start to know who they are a little bit. But in the playoffs is where you get the attention, where your name starts coming up for things. I will never forget what was said to me when I was it was the NBA pre-draft camp. And there are all these people. It's a job fair at the pre-draft camp. Everybody's trying to talk to people and have lunch with people, and it's sort of like the winter meetings are where coaches try to find jobs. And I had one a college assistant coach who was at this thing tell me at the time, and this was years ago, and he told me, he goes, we're all here and everybody's talking everybody's ear off. He goes, all that matters is does Dick Vitale mention you? I said, what do you mean? He goes, that's it. He said, if you're watching Duke, Carolina, and out of nowhere, Dick Vitale brings up, let me tell you who the next coach is, who everybody's going to love. He's doing a wonderful job. And it'll name some guy at Siena or some guy at Texas A&M Prairie View. Because that's all that matters because of the way colleges think and because of how important that Q rating is. And I wonder now, because owners are so fickle and sometimes stupid, and that they hear a name like, oh yeah, I've heard of that guy. That's probably a good hire. And people, when I go to the club this weekend, people say, good job hiring that guy. That makes me feel good.
Right.
And when Aikman can say whatever he wants and couch everything in these multiple jobs, and Brady can say what he wants, but it is important. It does matter, the attention that is paid to people on national broadcasts. Can Aikman overcome that? Can Aikman say in a closed-door meeting where his boss, where he's being paid to do a different job, can he say, yeah, I know I said all that about him in this game, and I'm on record. Everybody knows I said all this stuff about him, but after that interview, I'm not sure I can recommend him for your team right now as a good fit. we like to think that people can.
But I also look at it from the other side of it too, is like how real were the other interviews that the Miami Dolphins had with other potential coaches? Like
the Bears Eberflus interviews?
Right. Did Troy Aikman say, hey, Steven, this is the guy you need. I've talked to this guy enough. I believe I've seen enough from this guy. This is the guy you need. And were those other candidates just, lip service because they got to fulfill a requirement?
Yeah, and he could say,
were they legitimate?
Let's do our interviews.
Right.
And they do it all the time. What you're saying happens all the time where you say, look, this is clearly the guy. Do these other, if somebody blows you away, that's fine. But when, as of right now, unless we have reason not to hire this guy, let's hire this guy.
Right. Talk to X, Y, and Z, but this is the guy you really need to go with. And in the course of my getting to know this guy and thinking he's the right guy for you, I learned that he has a great relationship with this personnel guy, John Eric Sullivan, and we all know who, blah, blah, blah. And how that all works together, and what he takes away from his pre-show preparation, pre-game preparation as a commentator, and what he's learning and mining for information to share with the owner, who he's now being paid as a consultant for.
It's a tangled web of allegiances, and then you wonder after the fact. It's you can even wonder as a viewer. It's one thing to say, like, as a team, when you're hiring him, what the motivations are, but then afterward, and you can wonder, well, is this now because he's invested in his recommendations? Is he now predisposed to say nice things and compliment his people more? You think it's human nature for that to be true?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct.
Yeah, you'd think that there's enough people out there, enough smart people spread around who know the game really well, that you don't need to go to a major national broadcaster and hire that person as a consultant.
You would think. Yeah, but again, I don't know what their relationship was prior or whatever, so who knows. But just thought that was some interesting stuff, and of course we'll keep an eye on and track what else is happening, because we still have still 6 openings in the NFL as far as head coaching jobs are concerned. So there's still the 6 jobs. Yeah, so we'll keep a track on that and see where that leads and where it goes and what the Bears end up doing. And I know on another Forward Progress this week, probably tomorrow, you want to get into taking a look at the Bears roster for next year.
I want to look at specifically all of the free agents. And I want to look at the decisions and go a little deeper than a yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But there is a long list of unrestricted free agents. There are restricted free agents. There's an exclusive rights free agent. There's a street free agent. And just look at some of this information that we have. And in a vacuum, obviously, because each one of these, we don't know the number of alternatives that would be available, because you can't just say, yes, keep this guy, get rid of this guy. If I keep this guy, it is instead of whom. These are all the things that Ryan Poles and everybody looking at that board that they're sorting through. But I do think that we need kind of an accounting of at least what we thought the contributions were of the people who are now free agents for next year. And I think we can do that for tomorrow. I think that'd be a good time and place for it.
Yep, I want to also remind you, and we've mentioned it a few times now here on all the shows, the 312 Sports app. If you haven't gotten the app yet, you can get it at the Apple Play Store or at the Apple App Store, Google Play. Get it, download the app, get the app. I know I'm old, I said download. And then register, and then there's great prizes available for you on there as well. You can get all of the shows that we have on the 312 Sports Podcast Network. So it's DBU and Forward Progress and Organizations Win Championships, which is recording another episode today for some more Bulls talk. We also have From the 50, my own podcast. I dropped one on Monday with Tom Sillo, a 59-year-old college freshman who walked onto the football team in Lycoming.
That picture you used on social is so good.
Isn't it great?
It's the picture of him. Because he looks athletic enough, like
he's very athletic, yeah.
He does look the part, but then you just see him, and it's like, oh, wow, he's playing college football. Okay.
He's in uniform, and you see like 18, 19-year-old kids around him.
Yeah, that's great.
On a knee. It's a really cool story, so check that out. Tom Sillo, 59-year-old college football player, at Lycoming College. But get the 312 Sports app. All the stuff is right there for you. And then all of our YouTube channels for Forward Progress and for the 312 for DBU. Make sure you subscribe and like. We take all your comments in there. On Friday, we'll have Friday Feedback Friday, so you can email the show. It's Dan at 312 Sports or Matt at 312 Sports. All your comments there. You can leave audio messages on the 312 Sports app. So we love having you part of the community. Make sure you stay involved as Dan filters through all of that stuff and brings back. We need to figure out off show, I guess I should say, what we're doing for our top 10 list this week. I have an idea, so we'll talk about it.
Is this something that we are we committed to doing a top 10 list every week?
Well, that's what we'll talk about. And see, I like doing it, but I have a different angle. We'll see what you think about it. We'll figure that out for Friday's show.
Okay. Fair enough. Because usually Thursdays, it's my work day. Yeah, that's when I actually grind on those things. No, you don't laugh. I do.
I know. Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's Thursday night for me as I'm going. Well, the committee, I should say.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, which I'm sad though because I had my exit interviews with the committee.
Okay.
So they're gone. They're not. I mean, the basement's dark down here now. Yeah, I got some feedback about the towels we provide and the thread count on the sheets. So,
yeah, I thought it might be a little low. I predicted it.
Yeah, it was a little low. The food, they were happy with the food and the beverage choices, but it was the towels and the thread count.
Yeah, I heard that the vintage year of a couple of the red wines was not ideal. That one said that it wasn't exactly the best year in the south of France.
Well, it's hard to balance out because I got that guy, and then I got the other people that like the fruit wines from like Michigan and Wisconsin, the cranberry Chardonnay and the peach Merlot. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to balance that. I don't have enough space.
I know, and a couple of people on the committee only like a lot of the old world Burgundies and classically structured Bordeaux's. But some of the scuttlebutt that I heard was that the Rhone blend was not exactly the best year.
Yeah, my wine cellar, the towels, and the thread count on the sheets just weren't up to their par. So
all right, so we have a lot of stuff coming your way for the remainder of the week, and some of it Bears centric. A lot of it watching what is going to be happening in the NFL as it goes into this last, about a month left still almost, right? 2 weeks, and then there will be more coaching movement and, the NFL's year-round, and that's why we should – go ahead.
Did you see the what Natalie told me yesterday, there's an opening act for Bad Bunny, the halftime show.
Is it me?
It's Green Day.
For Bad Bunny?
Yes.
Cool. Oh, I hope they do American Idiot.
Well, you've seen some of their recent stuff they've done live, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a political slant to that. I was really surprised.
They're not gonna to let this opportunity pass them by.
I would think not. I would think not for sure. So,
not part of a redneck agenda. Yeah. Okay. I'm down.
Yep.
That works. And that'll do it for Forward Progress today on 312 Sports.
Forward Progress is stopped. 10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress. A Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abaticola on 312 Sports.